Last time on the Cellcast.
The animated series.
And you stole my thunder.
I stole it. I get to say that there was a character in this movie that is our Kingdom Hearts reference.
Thump, thump, thump against the microphone.
So, O'Connor,
Yeah.
the lieutenant that was wanting to ascend,
Oh, okay.
was played by Haley Joel Osment, a.k.a. the biggest Kingdom Hearts reference I possibly can make. He is Sora, the main playable character in 9 of the Kingdom Hearts games.
I see dead people.
That too. The Traveler is the weirdo from Next Generation who decided to take Wesley Crusher for a ride, since Wesley Crusher had apparently the ability to evolve or transcend, because he was a genius, which was stupid. I've never heard Sora in Kingdom Hearts drop the S-bomb. The universe is on the back of a koala. He smiles. What does he know? And you see this visual.
It's a koala.
My question is, hey, are we seeing his point of view, or is Tendi seeing this too? So why is she allowed in there? To bug this guy while he's trying to work?
For comedy relief?
I'm aware of this. I'm saying rocks are not organic matter, but that's beside the point.
Right. The
But-
back half of your hole looked like it was like a blown up rainbow.
Yeah. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if the Cerritos was the problem there.
Yeah,
Because this is the ship of weirdos.
that is true. And I thought the Enterprise was weird.
Oh, it gets much weirder.
This podcast is part of the Christian Geek Central Network. For more great content and community, visit ChristianGeekCentral.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast.
The animated series.
Joining me today is a man who just finally is getting to go on a date. And it's not in the holiday. Welcome, Jacob.
Well, darn. Why, thank you. I'd like to introduce our co-host, the man who... Why, thank you. I'd like to introduce our co-host, a man who just happened to have a...
Parasite.
a parasite attached to his head. Welcome, Drew.
It's like the name of that group of people in Genesis. The Parasites.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's a bad joke. Anyway, how are you doing today, Jacob?
I'm doing a lot better. I'm doing very well. Thank
All
you.
right. So today, on this episode of the animated series, we're of course reviewing Star Trek Lower Decks. We are on episode 5, which is Cupid's Errant Arrow, which was written by Ben Joseph and directed by Kim Arndt. In this episode, Mariner is suspicious of Boimler's new girlfriend. Tendi and Rutherford grow jealous of a bigger starship's gear. Getting into some of the references and continuity things in this episode. Early on in the episode, they mentioned that they describe someone as being a lot like Captain Kirk Sundae with Trip Tucker sprinkles. You of course know who Captain Kirk is.
Obviously, yeah.
Do you know who Tucker is?
Chris Tucker?
Trip Tucker.
Okay, no clue.
Charles Trip Tucker III was the chief engineer on Enterprise,
Oh, okay.
as in the first starship the starship under Captain Archer, who would then go on to help found the Federation.
Right.
And he did kind of have a couple of ladies. In fact, he technically had a kid.
Oh, okay.
He had a kid.
Oh, okay.
Although they took him out before it came out, and technically it wasn't genetically his. Yeah. One should be
Ouch.
careful what they do on alien holodecks. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, snarf, no.
And also at some point, they also say it's a side helping of a Will Riker burger.
I don't want to know.
I don't either. They mentioned someone is as hopped up as excited as a hopped up Q on Captain Picard Day. Captain Picard Day comes from the Next Generation episode, The Pegasus, and is generally agreed to be on June 16th of our calendar.
Okay.
In case you're curious.
Okay.
And Q is, of course, the intergalactic being that was always annoying Captain Picard and the crew of the Enterprise D, and later on got punched in the mouth by Captain Sisko of Deep Space Nine, in his only appearance on that show, and then had a number of appearances on Voyager.
Oh, okay.
He's got a kid.
Scary.
In fact, we'll get to that. Many of the things they mention on the holodeck, I'll just go ahead and touch this. They mention having love on the holodeck.
Yeah.
Reginald Barclay was probably the biggest offender on this, because in the episode Hollow Pursuits, he made holographic recreations of Deanna Troi and much of the rest of the crew.
Wow. Okay.
Without their permission.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Uh,
It's like, dude, you're definitely getting yourself ejected from the,
Right.
the core. Come on, dude.
Lieutenant Commander Geordie LaForge fell in love with a hologram of Dr. Leah Brahms in the episode Booby Trap. And I did not notice that reference till just this second. And Riker nearly fell in love with a hologram named Minuet in the episode 11001001. Later in the episode, Barb says that she thought Mariner was a rogue holodeck character, which could also be a reference to 11001001, since Minuet's job in that was to keep Captain Picard and Commander Riker distracted, while the Binars, also mentioned in this episode, messed with the Enterprise. But most people will note will generally think of Moriarty from Sherlock Holmes, specifically the episodes of Next Generation, Elementary, My Dear Data, and Ship in a Bottle, both of which encountered a Moriarty who was aware he was a hologram and was designed to be a villain capable of defeating Data. We saw Geordie LaForge teddy bear, which was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
At one point, Mariner offers to set Boimler up with a Thelosian, and she says she seems like a nice plant person. Thelosians are plant people that showed up in the animated series episode, The Infinite Vulcan. While catching up with Boimler, Barb says that that in one mission she reversed the polarity and rebooted the time stream, which might, in some strange way, be a reference to Doctor Who, of all things.
That makes sense.
Specifically, the Third Doctor era episodes, The Terror of the Autons, The Daemons, and The Sea Devils. That said, the phrase reverse the polarity exists in both series. The original series episode, Who Mourns for Adonis, and also showed up in the Enterprise episode Harbinger, and shows up many times throughout everything. Also, Barb claiming she rebooted the time stream might have also been seen in the original series episodes Tomorrow is Yesterday and The City on the Edge of Forever. Barb references being stuck in a 1920 Chicago-style planet, which might be a reference to the original series episode A Piece of the Action. At one point, Boimler appears to be intimidated by Hot Hunk Jet. Boimler says that... I mentioned all this already. Mariner mentions that when a Starfleet relationship seems to be too good to be true, then red alert, it probably is. She gives the examples, she's an alien who's going to eat you. Most aliens in Star Trek don't actually eat people, but aliens who suck the life force out of people do seem to be fairly common, such as in the Deep Space Nine episode, The Muse. And one of the worst episodes of Next Generation, Sub Rosa, in which Dr. Crusher kind of had a thing with a quote-unquote ghost.
Interesting.
It's a bad episode, and it's disgusting.
Okay.
Mentions a Romulan spy. This is probably referencing T'Pel from the Next Generation episode Data's Day. And Agnes Girardi was an unwitting Romulan spy in Picard. Mentions assault succubus. This is a reference to the original series episode in the first episode of Star Trek to ever air, The Man Trap, in which the shape-shifting M113 life form pretends to be McCoy's old girlfriend, Nancy Carter. Nancy Carter. Or an android. In the original series, Nurse Chapel falls in love with a secret android duplicate of her old boyfriend in the episode What Are Little Girls Made Of? And in the original series episode Requiem for Methuselah, Kirk falls in love with Reyna, who is also a secret android. Or a changeling. There are a lot of people who fall in love with shapeshifters in Star Trek.
Apparently.
But the one that's probably the least malicious might be Kira Nerys from Deep Space Nine, who had a relationship with Constable Odo on that show. He was technically a changeling. Or, and quite possibly, the best reference that they could have made, and the one that made me laugh out loud. Or one of those sexy people in rompers who murder you just for going on the grass. This references the episode Justice, in which Wesley Crusher, thank you Wesley, falls in some grass, specifically a flower bed, and is nearly murdered by scantily clad people who were previously flirting with everybody.
Okie dokie then.
It's a weird
I
episode.
can imagine.
And I still wish Wesley had not have survived. But anyway,
No love for
I'm teasing.
Crusher.
I am teasing. Do not be mad at me. What is his name?
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. Do not be mad at me, Will Wheaton. In the flashback sequence, we do get to see the Deep Space Nine uniform style that was first actually introduced in Star Trek First Contact. And that happens to take place on what appears to be Deep Space Nine. Maybe even in Quark's bar. Mariner's conspiracy chart has a lot of Easter eggs. She notes that Barb's not a dolphin, which is from the TNG episode The Dolphin, in which Wesley Crusher's new girlfriend is revealed to be a furry shape-shifting monster with claws.
Way to go.
You can see a picture of Lal, Data's first daughter, from the Next Generation episode The Offspring. She mentions that she could be a Suliban, which is a reference to the often reoccurring villains from Enterprise, the Suliban, which were first seen in the episode Broken Bow. The Binars, which I mentioned earlier, tried to take over the Enterprise by distracting Riker and Picard with a holographic character named Minuet while they did some other things. Seska, Mariner talks about undercover Cardassians for a second, in which we see a picture of someone who looks sort of like Seska from Star Trek Voyager, who was a Bajoran crew member who turned out to actually be a Cardassian spy. The Duras sisters. These two sisters who were constant pains in the neck of the Next Generation crew anytime they were dealing with the Klingons. Tried to take over the Klingon Empire many, many times, and the last time they got blown up when their bird of prey, when the Enterprise was able to take out their bird of prey.
Yeah, in Generations, right?
In Generations. Mentions transporter clones, in which the most famous version of this is probably going to be Riker's transporter duplicate from the episode Second Chances. That transporter duplicate is still running around. He even showed up in an episode of Deep Space Nine. We see a picture of the M113 Salt Vampire from The Man Trap. And humpback whales are seen, which are from Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, which are apparently much smarter creatures than the rest of us. At one point, Mariner pushes an Andorian out of her way and dismissively calls her Jennifer. Wait, you might think I mentioned it's weird for an Andorian to have a human name like Jennifer.
Yeah.
Except there was in Voyager a young Qatarian girl named Naomi Wildman. That was the daughter of a girl on that when they got. She was born in the Delta Quadrant during Voyager, but because her mother was pregnant with her while they were on the ship when it got lost. You ever watch the show Reba?
Little.
You know the middle daughter?
Kind of.
She played that character on Voyager.
Oh, okay.
So I can't look at her and think, oh, look, she's there from Star Trek. Ironically, the character's name in Reba is Kira. Anyway. At one point, Mariner... Barb says she thought Mariner was a Breen infiltrator. These were enemies first mentioned in TNG and eventually showed up in DS9 during the Dominion War. The Breen actually were the ones who led the Dominion attack on Earth. They mention parasites and pheromones. In TNG episode Conspiracy, we find out the Federation, the Starfleet Command, has been infiltrated by a bunch of parasites that had nearly taken over everything, if not for Picard and Riker finding a way to stop that. At some point, they mention calibrating a Dyson sphere, which the Vancouver did. The Dyson sphere first appeared in the episode Relics, in which Scotty's a ship Scotty was on had crash landed on it when the Enterprise D found it. At one point, they mentioned a password on the ship was Riker, which is, of course, the second command of the Enterprise.
Right.
And now the captain, and as of this show, captain of the Titan.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings me to the end of my Easter eggs and references. So now that I've talked for a bit, it's your turn to talk for a bit.
Oh, gosh.
What did you think of this episode?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved Mariner's kind of pseudo-jealousy of Boimler actually having a girlfriend, and her constant conspiracies, be like, oh, she's this, and oh, I've seen things. It's like, yeah, if you've seen things, doesn't mean automatically there's a conspiracy to this. I think it's just more you actually like Boimler, and so you don't want him to be with someone else except you. So that's my theory.
I'm not sure that them being in love is going to be a thing. I'm not saying it's not going to, because stranger relationships have happened.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Just the way, just the way the character plays off. It's more like she's extremely jealous. Like, even though at the very end, to be like the two girls wind up being friends at the very end after they bond, after Boimler gets knocked out in that very awkward scene. On that, what were they on, a pad?
Oh, you mean the thing it was a transport carrier sort of a thing?
Yeah,
it was essentially a platform to help them demolish that planet.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, just on that platform was hysterical, and the big money shot they were using for the teaser trailers.
Yeah, to show this is not your father's Star Trek.
Exactly.
And it's like, you know what? That's not even the joke that y'all tried to say it was.
No.
I mean, it kind of was, but it also wasn't.
Maybe one of the detractors, probably this episode and probably the next episode, would probably be the amount of profanity was used. Like, yes, it was bleeped out. It was bleeped out, but it was like, okay, this is it's a little disturbing in some ways. But I understand they're trying to go for more of more adult humor. I get that, but we're still dealing with more of an animation. We're still talking about Star Trek.
Star Trek has used profanity before, and since Discovery started, they have started using the F-bomb more and more.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not new, but
of course not.
It is. I do wish they would stay away from that sort of language.
Yeah, but either way, the story was very good. Rutherford and Tindy's competition. who's gonna get the
T-88s?
The T-88s,
which are. That's the thing. I looked at that and it's like, I'm not sure what those are supposed to be. I guess they're tricorders, but they're a new design of tricorder.
Yeah. That
look like the thermometers I've been aimed at my head since this COVID thing got started every morning.
And the speaking of the tricorders, tripod. What I think tripod, but it's tricorder. Tricorder. The only problem is they were the design on them was completely flat. There was no shadow or nothing on them.
Yeah,
which kind of bothered me a little bit. It's okay.
Well, and the other thing that bothers me about the design of those T-88s, that screen is not going to be big enough that's on that device.
No, it's not.
So I don't know what. I can see that as maybe a scanner. more than anything else, but you've got to have it paired with something for it to make any sense, and they don't show it paired with anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's supposed to actually be used for, and it is kind of odd that medical and engineering would actually use the same type of equipment.
Right.
I mean, they both use tricorders in all the other shows,
right.
but there's generally a difference between a standard issue tricorder and a medical tricorder.
Right.
Whole different set of programs, whole different set of things it's designed to do.
Right.
And I'm still kind of find it weird that Tendi was doing anything that had to do with engineering. I'm assuming she does have to be able to fix the medical stuff.
You would think so.
When it goes up, because it makes more sense to have a specialized engineer for medical.
Right.
But I don't know why she's doing diagnostics with Rutherford, or why that would
to put them together.
I know it is, but it just seems like a odd contrivance. For this episode, and it's something I'm having a hard time processing as to why you would do it that way.
I gotcha. But overall, the episode was good. It was fun. It was the amount of paranoia that Mariner, thank you. That Mariner just went through. It's like, oh, this has got to be like Boimler's going out with this girl. And there's something wrong. Be like, he's not cute. He's like all the phrase and be like, oh, he's hot or something like that. I'm like, girl, you're just showing your cards. But I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that these two finally, be like, after the, and also we can't forget the diplomacy of the moon's destruction, and that was
I mean, they got everything good, but this one guy says, you're going to destroy everything on our planet to save this other planet, and blah 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 blah, and find out by the end of it, it's gonna hurt both of us. Wait a minute, how many people exist in your civilization? 2, just me and my wife. We're just rich. It's like, you know what, blow up the planet.
blow up the moon.
No, we just the new tile. No, we just got the tile redone. It's like, you know what? I don't give a flying banana.
That was very good. The storytelling is very good in this show. It is.
Yeah. And the thing is, I can see a storyline like this happening in the normal show. It's just, it feels. I know a part of this is we're seeing sort of like I said before, we're seeing an exaggeration of episodes.
Yeah.
So I can kind of work with it that way, that if they ever have to reference Lower Decks at a different time, which next episode they have an excuse now. But if they ever, I get the feeling we're going to get a slightly different story than what we're seeing in these episodes. But that's just my theory. That's my feelings on it.
All right.
It's a good show still. I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to where this is going, because this is a great lampoon of Star Trek, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And I'm enjoying it. So I think that brings us to the end of this one, unless you got something else. So join us on the next episode, where we'll review Terminal Provocations. Come, Jacob, we must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
The same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast!
Oh, boy!
So where can they find you, Jacob?
They can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron and Jacob's Daily Art Corner, my personal art Facebook page. On Twitter at Jacob B. Heron. On Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. And on Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. Where can they find you, Drew?
You can find me on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. You can also find my Facebook page at Drew's Photo Bin, where I upload my photography. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759 and Twitter at GGeorge759. Where can they find us, Jacob?
You can also visit our website, thecellcast.podbean.com, where you will find every episode we released and links to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. Our RSS feed, if we aren't in your favorite podcast app directory, please share, review, and subscribe to us there, and share us with your friends.
You will also find a link to our Facebook group, the Double Feature Podcast Community, where we talk about both animated and live-action movies. We share this with our other podcasts, which we do with Jacob's brother Jim, at the Movie of the Week podcast, where we talk about live-action movies. You can also email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. Also, please like our page on Facebook. We try to post about upcoming movies. If you comment on that movie's post before we record, we'll read your comments in the episode. And remember, every time we say the Cellcast, that is with a single L.